Welcome to the Toxin Terminator, helping people to restore and renew their health by removing the toxins from the home and their lives. Join in as industry thought leaders help you understand the physical and emotional effects these products can have on you and your family, and the safe alternatives you can use to remove the hidden toxins for renewed health. Now, please welcome your host, the Toxin Terminator herself, Amy Carlson.
Hello, everyone. How are you today? I'm so excited you're joining in with us, whether you're listening to the podcast or tuning in through one of our live streaming channels. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss any future episodes. Now, today we have a really special guest, and I love, if you've been following me at all, you know I'm a huge fan of essential oils. It was my gateway drug into learning everything healthy. And today we have best-selling author, award-winning journalist, a functional practitioner, and founder of Vibrant Blue Oils, Jodi Cohen, with us today. Jodi, we're so excited to have you here.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. I can't wait to hear about your gateway drug experience.
Well, if we have time, we can come back to that one for sure. Now, Jodi's coming in because she has a book that is currently out, but a brand new one called Essential Oils to Boost the Brain and Heal the Body. I absolutely love the title of the book because we'll dive into why, because I have a few questions about that. But look at that beautiful book. So a hard copy comes out March 16th. But we can pre-order right now. And I'm scrolling that website underneath. If you're watching the live video, it's boostthebrainbook.com. So boostthebrainbook.com. If you're listening to the podcast, that will be linked into the show notes. Jodi, tell me, what got you into essential oils? How did that start for you?
Yeah, I think necessity is the mother of invention. I was already down the nutritional rabbit hole, and my life hit a rock bottom. My then husband needed to be moved to a residential treatment facility. He was bipolar and extremely depressed, and I was afraid he was going to die on my watch. And once I knew he was safe and it wasn't my job to keep him safe, it was like I had been deficit spending for a decade, and I just completely ran out of gas. Mm-hmm. Our kids were 5 and 7. I had a full-time job. I was class parent. I was doing all these things, and I literally would force myself to get up with them, make them breakfast, pack their lunch, drive them to school, come home, crawl into bed, set the alarm for pickup. Yeah. And I kept trying. I was ingesting all the right remedies, and nothing was helping, but fortunately, because I had been Uber volunteer, a friend of mine, as a thank you gift, had been planning to gift me a big box of essential oils anyway. And she showed up and said, you have been so chronically inflamed for so long, and that, chronic high cortisol leads to chronic inflammation. I bet your gut is toast, and nothing that you're ingesting is actually getting in. Oils get in through the skin, try that. And I thought, why not? I've tried everything else. Like, that makes sense to me. And because I had been working in nutrition and I knew it was my adrenals, I kind of isolated. I did this muscle testing technique that I used in my practice and wound up isolating 5 oils and thought, that's weird. What do I do with that? And then it occurred to me, they're liquid. You can combine them. Mm-hmm. So I tested each bottle and formulated my first remedy, just kind of on blind trust, like, why not?
Right.
Put it on my low back, which is where the adrenals are the most accessible to the surface, and felt like myself for the first time in weeks. Was able to clean the house, do the laundry, do the grocery shopping, make their favorite meal, show up fully present. I think we even had game night that night. And that night I was lying in bed, and, I have this, I kind of reverse engineer the day at the end of the day. And what did I do right? What did I do wrong? What am I going to repeat for tomorrow? And I thought that was really a win. But, often high stress is correlated with poor sleep. So I began my clock watching game, as I like to say. I'd put the kids to sleep, and then, 10, 10:12, 10:25. somewhere around 10:30, I thought, oh gosh, I wonder, I knew enough about topically applying melatonin that I thought, I wonder if oils can be topically applied. I wonder if I can make something for sleep. So I went downstairs, formulated my second blend, just pure, trust, and came up, applied it kind of right on the skin above the ears is a really good application point. And I fell asleep, and, not even my 5-year-old, who was a very powerful alarm, I slept better than I probably had in years. And I thought, okay, that was a win. And I just kept making things up until I started to feel enough like myself again that friends started to ask me, like, wait, what did you do? Can we try it? And I was kind of laughing. I'm like, this seems silly, but why not? Giving them little samples of what I made. They liked it. Their clients liked it. And they finally said, you should do something with this. And I thought, well, I'm sure someone's already doing this. It's so obvious. So I finally had the mental capacity to go online and look at what other people were doing. And I was incredibly surprised by two things. The first being that no one was really, there was a lot about single oils, but no one was really working with blends in a way to target organ systems and regions of the brain. And second of all, they made it incredibly complicated. Like, I was almost grateful that I just didn't have the mental bandwidth to start with research, because I would have felt completely unqualified.
Right. Overwhelmed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that. What time frame was this, Jodi? Like, was this 10 years ago?
It was in 2012.
In 2012.
We moved him into Halloween of 2012 is when it started.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to kind of dig in, because I'm always fascinated. As my story was, poor health, went down the whole doctor route, trying to, heal myself through the traditional ways that, that's what we are raised in and we're supposed to do. And a friend of mine had introduced me to essential oils, and at the point I've turned her off for like a year. I was like, no. And finally I agreed to go, check this out. And I thought, nothing else is working. Why not? Why not give it a try? And I know so many people that come into our world of natural healing, whether it be through functional medicine or holistic, they've been down that rabbit hole of trying everything else. Yep. Can you talk to us on why? Why did the blend that you made help with your adrenal fatigue? Why did the blend that you used specifically for sleep work for sleep?
Yeah. So there are a couple aspects there. First of all, I want to kind of demystify oils a bit. Everyone thinks of them, they've been wrongly categorized as this weird witchcraft, voodoo kind of category. And what most people don't realize is that over 50% of the pharmaceutical drugs that are currently available are derived from plants. Aspirin is white willow bark. Valium is valerian root. Oils are the concentrated essence of plants. And so they work the same way drugs do. They basically have certain constituents that balance certain chemicals in the body. And so the second question is, why did they work better? And it's all about access. Like, what most people don't realize, the reason cocaine is inhaled through the nose and anesthesia is delivered through the nose is because that's the fastest way to get something into the brain. And it works immediately. We know that hormonal creams, nicotine patches, they work through the skin, because especially fat soluble remedies can be absorbed through the skin and get into the bloodstream almost immediately. So I think that's why they worked when other things failed, was just that it was a concentrated way to get things into the brain. And like for the adrenals, for example, most of our remedies we ingest, right? And so that needs to go through the whole digestive process, through stomach acid, and then be processed through the liver before it gets into the bloodstream. If you're topically applying it, especially in the region it's located, it gets into the organs immediately. If you're inhaling it, same thing.
Right. And I've heard studies anywhere from, 30 seconds to 2 minutes, an essential oil can actually be detected within the bloodstream or the tissues, in the body. Is that correct too?
Yeah. And it's even interesting. Like, there's that example of, you can put peppermint oil on the bottom of your foot and taste it in your mouth in a couple of minutes. Yeah. The nose, if you think about our survival senses and how we use our senses to stay alive, our nose keeps us alive. We can smell food. we can smell water, we can detect predator odor. So it actually, of our five senses, has the most direct channel to our brain.
Right. Yes. So tell me, so you got into kind of this whole, I'm going to mix stuff and create these blends. So I'm getting all these single oils, but what happens when I take and create this? Is Blue Vibrant Oils then a lot of mixes that you've created? What started you on that path of making your own?
Yeah, it's Vibrant Blue Oils. And basically it was, you can call it God, you can call it intuition. For whatever reason, I was guided to combine things, not knowing what I was doing, but just feeling better immediately. And then when I started doing research, it's kind of fascinating because most of the research actually is on blends. Frankincense and myrrh blend. The combination of two things, the synergy between them is very different than what you get with a single oil. So once I realized no one is doing this, my company is 100% blends. And unique blends that you can't get through other organizations. And mostly because, a lot of the people that have been chronically ill for a long time, there's a lot of effort that goes into healing yourself. And a lot of people might feel like they've invested a lot of time, money, energy, and there's a big anxiety about doing it wrong. And so actually in the new book, I give away all the recipes. So if somebody is in love with their oil company and is very loyal, they can use those oils to make their own. But for the most part, I find that people are so nervous about doing it right that there's a comfort in knowing, oh, I've done it for you. I tell you exactly how to use it. So that's really why I started it, mostly just because I sensed a need that people, they weren't do-it-yourselfers. They just wanted the ready-made solution.
Right. Well, and I see that too. I see so many, where do I apply it? What do I use? I had this, and it's like, and for me, having done the research that I've done and the learning that I've done, it's like there are so many oils that have so many of the same constituents that sometimes it's like, what's in front of you? Get it on your body and start using it, right? And how do you feel about, because I always tell people, what works for me may or may not work for you. My body chemistry is different than your body chemistry, but I do know that there's constituents that are going to work the same with different things, right?
Yeah. So that's actually a great question. And that it's funny because my starting point was kind of, we're all bio-individual and everyone's different. And what I've come to realize is yes, and we all have different, we all have the same kind of base operating system in our body, our autonomic nervous system. And basically what I tried to do in the book is look at, everyone has different test results. Everyone has different factors that make them unique. And yet we all have 5 underlying systems that when they're in balance, when we're likely to heal. And those 5 systems lend themselves incredibly well to oils. So sleep is one of them. Making sure that your nervous system, everyone knows that stress kind of, basically when your body is in stress, it allocates resources differently. So it allocates resources towards survival. So certain neurotransmitters and hormones are released that are really good for survival in the immediate moment, empowering you to fight or flight or flee. But they're not great for long-term healing and especially for detoxification. Right. And what's really hard, the conundrum that I see most people facing is they know they're in stress. They can feel their stress. And someone says to them, oh, you're just stressing too much. And that almost feels more challenging. Like, what are you supposed to do? Go to yoga? You still have to come home and clean the house and do your job and keep your kids happy. It's not like your external circumstances change. So what I've realized is your external circumstances will not change, but you can change your response. We've all had that moment when someone cuts us off in traffic and we're okay with it. They might be in a hurry. We don't get upset. We're good. The next day, the exact same situation, 4-letter words might be flying out of our mouth. The only variable in that situation is us and our resilience in that moment. And we have control over that. We have control over how we engage our nervous system, whether we flip into the fight or flight stress response or the rest and digest parasympathetic response. And that gear shift, that control lies in the longest nerve in the body that most people have never heard of. It's your vagus nerve. It's cranial nerve number 10, super quick anatomy lesson. Connects the brain to the body and the body to the brain, starts in the base of the brain, splits, winds around both sides, and is most accessible behind the earlobe. It then innervates every organ of digestion and detoxification. It is the gear shift. It is what shifts you out of stress into calm. And it does that by activating it. So it innervates the lungs. Deep breathing activates it. It innervates the gallbladder. Coffee enema activates it. You know, the throat and the mouth. Tatis Karazian talks about gagging yourself with a tongue depressor or splashing your face with freezing water. Very low compliance. There's a researcher, actually right in 2012 when I started my company, who found that you can use kind of an electric stimulus, a little bit like a pacemaker-like device, stimulate the vagus nerve right there, and it basically shifts you into parasympathetic. Guess what? You can use stimulatory oils, clove and lime, very stimulatory, smallest amount. This is one of the best hacks. You know, your kids are still melting down. Your house is still a mess. Your husband's still grumpy and losing his keys. You know, like none of that changes, but you have the resilience that you're like, what do you need? You know, and it's always anyone whose family is like kind of going nuts. The minute you when you're fighting it, I'm going to be late. I can't do this now. It keeps blowing up. The minute you're like, how can I help you? Yes. All they need is like 2 minutes. It's like, okay, here are your keys. Here's your snack. You're good. You know?
I love this. And see, and I'm one of these people where I'm like, I just know I feel good. Okay. I just know I feel good. I don't know the science behind it and understanding, because I do a lot of oils right here, but I've never understood why I've been putting them right here.
Yeah.
And now I do. I mean, this has been so enlightening to me because of the vagus nerve here. And that's helping me. You know, you can just feel your shoulders relax. You can just feel everything about your body calm down. And relax. That's amazing. I love this.
Well, you know, for like detoxification too, when your body thinks it's unsafe, all of the blood flow gets routed away from the organs of digestion and detoxification towards the arms and the legs so you can flee. So it's literally like if you're trying to eat and you're not in the parasympathetic state, you're not actually assimilating your nutrients, the raw material, the building blocks for your body. So it's a really important gear shift to just keep you healthy.
Right. No, and I agree with that 100%, because I found for myself that I was considered nutrient deprived, you know, as my body wasn't being able to use. And I was that person where the doctors would tell me, you're stressed, you're overstressed, you have a high stress job, you're stressed. It's like, great, I'm hearing the same message over and over again, but what do I do? What do I do, you know, in order to not be stressed? And I love how you just broke this down, because I think of like, I have 12 grandkids. So I have 3 daughter-in-laws that their houses are mad crazy. You know, Jodi, I go into their homes, and because it's just my husband and I leave there feeling like energy depleted. You know, it's just chaotic. But that's their life. That's, you know, that's just, and you know, they can do simple things and be able to say, how can I be of service to you? This is awesome.
Yeah, it's literally like, you know, we live in Seattle where it's really hilly and we bike a lot. You know, you need to shift gears in your bike. Like if you're downshifting on a hill, you can do it. If not, good luck with that. You know, you can shift gears in your body, and it's super easy. It's natural. You can carry it in your pocket. And, you know, stresses are additive and cumulative. The same thing, the more you practice a solution, the easier it is. Like you get to the point where you can just smell it and your body's like, oh yeah, I'm good.
Know what to do with that. Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So you talked about 5 underlying systems. So we got sleep. We covered that one. What's next?
Right. So sleep is the top priority. If you're not sleeping, it's hard to heal because your brain detoxifies when you sleep. Kind of shifting into the parasympathetic nervous system. And then the third one is one that's really important for toxicity is drainage. The idea of making sure when you mobilize a toxin, it actually leaves your body. Right. And this is, I think, the biggest bottleneck for most people. You know, most people don't realize Garbage flows from the cell to the lymph, to the blood, to the liver, to the gallbladder, to the gut, to the toilet, ideally. But at any point, it can get backed up and get thrown back into the blood and pushed out through the skin. And then you've got like rashes or through the low back and the kidneys. So what's wonderful about oils is that that's really what they do. They move fluid and directionality in the plants, so they help to dilate the vasculature. They help to ensure that fluid keeps moving in the right direction. And there's a lot of research that I share in the book. There are practitioners who have found, the neck, for one, is a huge bottleneck.
Yes.
And that's where, if toxins are mobilized in the brain and try to drain down in the neck and there's congestion, they don't leave the body. So they just keep recirculating in the brain. Then they trigger an immune response and more brain inflammation. And you experience it like brain fog, fatigue after reading, losing words in your mind, not being able to find your keys, all these things. So oils, topically applied oils, especially like in kind of the downward direction, really help to make sure that, all that congestion in the neck. I use the example, you're on an airplane in the middle seat between two linebackers. Where are you going to put your arms? Not on the armrest. It's like your lymph is trying to drain, and where is it going to go? So it just helps to open it up so that everything can kind of leave the body and be eliminated.
I love that. And so do you find that there's a particular essential oil that's better for that, or more of a constituent that we're looking for?
Yeah, I detail that in the book, but the lymph blend, it's mint because, mint is kind of expansive and warming, but then also combined with like a vetiver, like a root oil, because, what people don't realize is that it helps with that downward motion. You can really, it's almost like you can combine different colors and make any color in the spectrum of the rainbow. You can combine different oils and the constituents and really almost design it to do exactly what you want it to do.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. This has made me really kind of excited to do some combos, start playing with things. Okay. So we got the drainage system, which is, really the lymphatic system, kind of the sewer system of the body. That was number 3. What about number 4?
Number 4 is the energy to heal, the whole endocrine system, which releases not only the energy hormones from the thyroid and the adrenals, but also is involved in the pancreas. So a lot of times what happens is our hypothalamus in the brain, which is actually very easy to access through the sense of smell, kind of controls the whole feedback loop in the body. Think of a thermostat. It's snowing now, so I had to make the thermostat a little higher. And then once it hits kind of 70 degrees, it turns off. It doesn't get to 100, 200. Basically, your hypothalamus tells your pituitary to tell your endocrine glands to release certain hormones, and then it monitors the feedback to make sure there's a sufficient amount in the system. But sometimes it does so many things. It's a little bit like your daughter-in-law's, like it can get a little harried and, like, oh, wait, dinner, my kids are hungry. Oh, where's their homework? I forgot to walk the dog today, that kind of stuff. So you can use oils to help rebalance and reboot the hypothalamus so that all of the signals are properly received, so that then the correct messages are sent in response.
I love that. And then the last system of the body.
Immune modulation. The immune system often either underreacts, like you're in stress, and so nothing's turned on, so all these infections are kind of under the surface, or overreacts and you have autoimmunity. And that's one thing. Most people, when they think of oils, they're aware of their antibacterial, antimicrobial, antifungal effects and how well they work at kind of modulating the immune system. But I try to share very specific strategies, both based on my experience as a clinician and then also what I found in research, so that you're not taking the guesswork out of essential oils. Right.
I love that. And I love that it's everything is coming into balance. And I think people need to understand that our body is created to be in balance. And, and the use of essential oils, that's what they're designed to do. They want to go in and create this, homeostasis within the body, right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's like adaptogenic herbs. I mean, what most people don't realize, like energy, for example, cortisol is the energy hormone, and you can test it. You can do a 24-hour cortisol test,
right.
But it's not a flat line ever. It's supposed to be higher in the morning to give you the energy to wake up. And then wear down as the day goes on. And so certain remedies, will kind of increase your cortisol level, like, oh gosh, I can't think of the word. My brain, see? The adrenal, like basically by taking kind of adrenal components from other animals, and some can calm it down, but adaptogenic herbs meet you where you're at. So
Right.
if your levels are too high and need to be calmed down, they bring them down. If they're too low and need to be jacked up, they bring them up. So they're very balancing and very gentle.
I love that. Now talk to us about, because there's a lot of people that'll be, okay, here's the essential oil theory pod over here, but we're an herbologist and we're only going to be using herbs. Can you kind of talk to us about, is there a time where maybe the herb is more beneficial than using the actual essential oil, or do you find always that essential oil might be more beneficial?
Oh, there are definitely times when the herbs are more beneficial, and research will point to that, especially for ingestion. I think if you're going to consume it, herb tops it. I mean, oils are very, very, very concentrated. Like one drop of oil is like 25 cups of tea. So it depends. It's kind of like, if you think about your day, there are some days when you really need tons of energy and, 3 cups of coffee. And there are some days when it's more mellow and chill. So yes, I think, and that's also what I tried to address in the book,
Nice.
These are kind of the 5 situations where I really think oils are great, and it also depends, like slow and steady. Like there's certain things, if you're really out of balance, oils are a really good way to get you back into balance. But other things, it's like, additive and cumulative. So it's great to, like you want to make sure that you're adding vegetables to your diet. You want to make sure that you're getting probiotics. You don't need to supercharge that every day. Just slow and steady.
I love that. So I want to kind of shift a few gears here in our last part of our podcast, because we've been really talking all about essential oils, which I could talk all day long about because I love this topic. And I just love how knowledgeable you are, really bringing such great information to our audience. But I want to talk about writing the book. Talk to us. What did you find most challenging about writing the book for you?
It's interesting. I'm very organized. And so to start, I kind of really wrote my table of contents and assigned myself, like, I'm going to I wound up writing a chapter a week for 4 months. What was challenging was the editor feedback, because they wanted to dumb it down is the wrong thing to say, but I think they wanted to make it more accessible. And so feedback is hard. It's hard when someone calls your baby ugly. So I had to kind of create a system of these are the things that I'm going to really dig my foot in the sand and push back on. These are the things that I can see their point, and that's totally fine. And these are the things where I see their point, but what they want me to do is a little bit different than how I'm going to do it. So I'll try to make them happy and meet them where they're at, but a little bit differently. So it was just figuring out how to be accommodating, but also kind of really be clear where it was important.
Right. True to yourself, true to your passion and what you're trying to portray out there with that book. So in writing the book, what part of it or parts of it were just really lit you on fire? Like you were like, this is awesome and I can't wait for it.
Yeah, I love research. There is nothing that makes me happier. I get up quite early, like before the rest of the family, so that I can have my coffee and have quiet. Like I loved, like there is a piece of research. I mentioned kind of predator odor in the olfactory channel. Linda Buck is a Nobel laureate researcher actually out of Seattle. And she found that she was able to isolate the very specific olfactory receptor cells for predator odor. And then she was able to notice that the smell of rose balanced them out. It calmed fear. So that whole idea of stopping to smell the roses, there's science to back that up. So every time I could kind of find like the little things that made complete sense and tied everything together, that was my favorite, those dot connecting aha moments.
I love that. And putting that into context that, hey, this really does mean something, that little phrase that we say all, repeatedly over and over again. All right. So the book is called, let me go back up, essential oils to boost the brain and heal the body. Oh, there we go.
Yes.
Isn't that beautiful? I love that blue color and all
You know
the
what's really
flowers.
funny? That was another thing, fighting for the cover. You know, it was really hard to find an image that was kind of nature, brain, and magic.
Yeah, and it's the shape of the brain, and
Yeah.
you know, we see all the flowers. That is absolutely beautiful. We can go to www.boostthebrainbook.com. You can
And actually slash gift, and you can download a free chapter on 25 ways to activate the vagus nerve. So if oil doesn't speak to you, here's the cool thing. You just need to pick one. Just pick one that speaks to your heart and try to do it every day.
I love that. Thank you so much. And then my last question, I have to always ask every guest this. So what would be your best toxin-free lifestyle tip?
I don't actually, it's funny. I rarely wear makeup, and I use coconut oil as moisturizer. So I avoid toxins, but I think the tip for eliminating toxins, I take binders before bed. Like often toxins get recirculated in the gut. So that's a big tip. And then just daily movement, you know, to move your lymphatic system.
Well, and you gave us the tips on the lymphatic system of using the vetiver and mint. So guys, you got to get the book. You got to get the book to get all the recipes and the recommendations for these 5 systems. Jodi, thank you so much for coming on. And I'm going to let you have the last word with our audience before we close.
I guess the only thing I want to say is I feel like we have a lot more power over how we choose to react to situations than we realize. We can't change our external environment, but we can always change our response. And there's enormous power and freedom there.
Oh, thank you, Jodi. You've been such a pleasure to have on.
Thank you.
That's all for this episode of The Toxin Terminator, and we hope we've helped you remove the hidden toxins in your life for renewed health. If you're looking to continue your journey towards full rejuvenation, reach out to Amy directly by visiting amycarlson.com for your own one-on-one chat session, as well as your free toxic risk assessment. That's AIMEEcarlson.com. And remember, you are just one small change away from renewed health.
That was great.